Hello. For the next few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about observing children in early years settings, why we do it, what we can get out of it, and how to make observations work for you. So, first and foremost, in every early years settings, the practitioners are told, observe the children, make observational records, but why? Why do we do this? And why is it important for us to have a really good overview of the whole child, of all aspects of their development? Well, there is huge value in taking some time. Usually an observation would last between 3 and 10 minutes. Taking that time to stand back from what we're usually doing with the children, serving food, running activities, changing nappies. Take a step back, put yourself outside of the action, and take some time to really watch the children. What are they telling us through their behaviour, through their words, through their interactions with others, through how they engage with the space? What is it they're telling us? So it's important that we keep clear and accurate records of our observations. But why? Why do we observe? Why do we need to know these things in the first place? Well, first and foremost, observing children in the way that I've described gives us a really clear insight to their development. Our observation provides a window where we're completely and utterly focused on a specific child, and it gives us a window into their development, how they're doing, what their interests are, what they find challenging, what they find difficult, what they find easy, what their needs are. This helps us think through what we need to do for that child in terms of their next steps, in terms of planning for that child, in terms of how to make the environment more responsive to their needs, how we set out, how we organise the environment. Observations can tell us all of these things. We also observe children to look out for concerns, to check children's development and progress against developmental milestones. Maybe, through observing the children, we start to develop concerns about atypical development. That's development that doesn't follow the normal pattern of child development. We might observe children to give some insight into their behaviour or behaviour patterns. What's happening just before your ear throws a tantrum? What are the triggers to this? When can we observe? Well, basically any time. We can observe at meal and snack times. We could observe while the children are doing or taking part in an activity. We could observe them when they're on their way to sleep time, especially if we have some concerns around that, or if parents have some concerns around that. We can observe them when they're being dropped off by their parents or carers, when they're being picked up. We can observe them freely exploring the space and taking part in free play. We can observe transitions in the day when they're going from inside to outside, from circle time to snack time. And we can observe them inside the early years provision and also outside in the yard. All of these times are suitable times to observe children. And as we do formal observations, I would recommend one formal observation every 2 weeks to every 4 weeks for each child in the nursery. You should try and build up a variety of different observational contexts. For example, one time at meal and snack, another time outside in the garden, another time shortly after they've arrived in the mornings, etc. So you really build up a whole picture of how the child is engaging at the nursery. And then it's really important what we actually do with that information. We need to think about how we can change and adapt and develop the environment to meet the needs that we've identified in the observations. It should definitely feed into our planning. It should provide the basis for the feedback to parents. It should help us set our monthly targets for each child, and it should help us in terms of tracking children's development against their milestones. So the last thing that I'm going to cover very briefly in this short video is the kinds of things that you should be observing. So pay attention to observe fact and not opinion. It's very important that you observe what you see the child do, and if they already have developmental language, what you see them say, not what you think is going on. The observation should be a descriptive, factual account of what you've seen. Obviously, it's important to put the child's name at the top, the date, and also I would strongly recommend that you write the number of months the child is on the day of the observation. Put your own name, the person that's observing, and provide a short context before the observation, immediately before what's going on. Is this at breakfast time? What time of the day is it? What are they having for breakfast? Has the child sat down yet for breakfast? Are they brand new at the nursery? Is it only their second week? Or have they been there for a long time? Have they just transitioned from one group to the next? Give us a bit of context for the observation so we can really paint a picture in our mind's eye when we're reading it back. Provide a really clear commentary. As I said, what does the child do and what does the child say? And finally, when you've completed the observation, there's a space on most observation forms to provide an evaluation. This is where you can interpret some of what you've seen. So your observation might say, she was laughing as she put one brick on top of the other and pushed the tower over. Whereas your evaluation might say, she really enjoyed playing with the bricks and stayed at the bricks for longer than she stays at any of the other activities in the nursery. It would be effective for us to build bricks into other parts of her day. For example, to put them outside to encourage her to spend some time outside or in the sand tray. This is when you start to interpret what you've seen. Maybe link it to some of the milestones. As I just did, suggest some next steps. Okay, that's all from me for today on observations. Happy observing.